eat their vegetables? Well, let's try the supreme veggie omelet. Here we have pumpkin, cabbage, carrots, onion, garlic, green capsicum, red peppers, spinach, mushrooms. Now that's a vitamin pill in itself. Piece of work is the pumpkin, and what I've done with the pumpkin is I've taken a vegetable peeler and scraped off any of the rough pieces, and now what I've done is, having chopped it up finely, I've got it here in my container, and this is my container of all the things I'm going to cook first as a part of the sequence for the omelet cook. Obviously the pumpkin's a little bit harder, so it needs to cook a little bit longer. I'm adding to that the onion, the garlic, and the green and red pepper, so it has a nice flavor. I have one container with the shaved carrot. You'll see here what I've done is I've just shaved it with the vegetable peeler. I haven't even worried about chopping it up because it'll go soft and it'll break up easy enough once it's cooked and softened. And that's going to cook at the same time as the cabbage. And then in the other container I've got the onion and garlic, the squash or pumpkin, whichever you'd like to call it. In this case I've left as much of the skin on as possible, and I've kept the bits pretty small. Okay, so that'll cook and soften fairly quickly. And of course the green pepper and the, or green capsicum and the red pepper. So they're ready to go. My fry pan, I'm just using olive oil, and for a little bit of seasoning, I might actually use Goya's salad and vegetable seasoning here. This will add a little bit more flavor to the omelet. But obviously too, once we have the eggs there and a little bit of milk at the same time, some of the flavor will dissipate, which is a good thing. I tend to find that the cabbage in the omelet makes the omelet just a little bit sweeter, which is kind of nice. It adds a little bit of fiber. It's got a nice sweet taste. It's very pleasant. Fry pan, I have the pumpkin, red pepper, capsicum, onion, and garlic, with about 3 packets of the Goya vegetable seasoning. That's going to sit there and cook, slow cook for a while, and soften so that the squash or the pumpkin is a little bit more pliable in terms of the overall taste. And then I'll go and add in the cabbage, the carrot, the mushrooms, the spinach, and the shallots. And you'll see here there's quite a large batch. I mean, this is a fairly decent fry pan, so it'd probably be an omelet with maybe 6 eggs, maybe a few more. I tend to make this and then leave it in the fridge, slice it up, and have one a day. And typically that's in, you know, a sixth of the fry pan size. So it's really quite a nice quick meal, packed full of vitamins and minerals, and very healthy for you. Been cooking for about 10 minutes now. You'll see the volume's a lot less than when we started as the vegetables soften and they lose a little bit of mass. The squash now, or pumpkin, whichever it is, right? Whichever you want to call it. I tend to think they all live in the same family, so they're the same thing, is now quite soft. So when I take a bite, it's a little bit chewy, but it's already soft. And in reality, it's just a little bit chewy where I've left the skin. So this is a good time to add the cabbage and the carrot, which will likewise provide mass, and it'll look like there's a lot. But this likewise will shrink down as time goes on too. So we'll stir that in and let that cook. And then a little bit later, I'll add in the spinach. I found a tomato that I want to add in there, and shallots. Just at the very end. Now this, I only want it to cook a little bit so that it still has texture and adds a little bit of vitality to the overall flavor and flavor and consistency of the omelette. Cooking this for about 15 minutes. The cabbage is softened, the carrots is obviously softened because they're shaved, and I'm about ready to add in the other ingredients. And notice the volume is much less than when I initially poured the cabbage in. Everything tends to shrink when you cook it up. This still may be a little bit too much for one omelette. That's okay. Split it off, make two. And let's not forget that this is going to be a meal that's going to last us for the week, or at least for more than one serving. About 20 minutes into the cooking, you'll see here that what I've done is I've halved everything at this point in time. So I've taken half of the veggies out, which leaves a nice layer, right? Not excessive, but a decent layer in terms of being able to use it as a base for the omelet. The other half I've got in a container here, and I'll use for another omelet, or hey man, I could even use it for soup if I wanted to. And what I've done here is I've actually grabbed about 9 eggs and whisked them with some fat-free milk. Now, I know that 9 eggs seems like a lot, but if you consider that this is a meal that's going to last me as one individual for, let's say, 7 days, that's really only about one and a bit eggs a day, which is not too bad. And I'm going to just layer the egg in over the omelet, or over the base, the vegetable base, and let that simmer a little bit longer. In this case, I'm not going to keep it too hot just yet because I want to let it soak in, and I might actually even stir it a little bit just to sort of get it all the way through the vegetable. You see there that's mixing in quite nicely. And if I find that it's a little bit too thin, I can add the extra vegetable back in as well. But we still want to keep it a little bit eggy. And now I'm just going to let it simmer and cook through. And then what we'll do is we'll turn it over so that we get an even cook on both sides. And let's have a look at the results. So many vegetables in an omelet is to let it cool before you take it out of the pan. And if you do that, you'll notice that you'll avoid breakage quite a lot. In this case today, for example, here's a very large piece. You'll see that the consistency is fairly solid. It's stacked full of veggies, and it's not overly dry, but it's still holding together quite nicely. And often what I do then is I just put them in a container, and I have it divvied up in slices of 6. And I have one a day, and it's delicious. It's packed full of vitamins and minerals, every vegetable under the sun, and you can season it as you like. Put a little bit of soy on it, put some oyster sauce, a little bit of chili, and it's a really delicious meal. Okay, so I put it on the plate. Let's have a look at the consistency when I cut it. You'll see here as I open it up, it still holds together quite nicely. It's still quite warm as well. But look at all the vegetables in there. There's carrot, there's mushroom, there's spinach, there's cabbage, there's squash. I mean, it is a vitamin pill in itself. It is certainly something that the kids would enjoy. It gets them eating lots of vegetables, and it's very healthy. And I can't recommend it enough. It's something that is good for the whole family. And if you keep it in the fridge, that's definitely better than snacks.